joining us from Sydney this morning. Westpac Banking's global head of fixed income strategy, Russell Jones, joins us. Good Monday to you, Russell. What do you think about the discussions taking place in D.C.? I mean, there didn't seem to be anything good or any good comments that came out of it.
No, I think the best point that one could make about it is that there is a sense, a recognition that this crisis is starting to go critical now. There is a recognition, I think, and it was put very clearly by Timothy Geithner, that policymakers in Europe really have to stop the sort of incrementalist approach. They have to produce a more comprehensive plan. They have to try and get ahead of the game. And as George Soros is suggesting, they also have to really ring-fence Spain and Italy, because if those two economies are really put under much more pressure, the entire Euro project, I think, becomes open to question. But we really do need to see a more rapid and more comprehensive policy response going forward.
Well, does it worry you that there doesn't seem to be enough money to go around if Greece goes into default? We do have contagion. You have the IMF and Christine Lagarde saying that the fund doesn't have enough money to go around, basically, for other economies, just in case they do go bust. And then you also talked about the EFSF, or other people talked about this stability fund with, let's remind our viewers, $500 billion in its holdings, but they think €1 trillion is more like the number, likely number. You know, to me, it just seems like there's going to be a huge liquidity problem and credit crunch like 2008 all over again.
Well, it does appear that the bailout fund needs to be expanded. I mean, the talk is of anything up to €2 trillion as an expanded bailout. But I think how do we get to that sum of money is what's really important. And it looks like the ECB is going to have to ride to the rescue as a sort of provider of finance of last resort. The problem with using the ECB in this role, of course, is the politics of it, and there's going to be a lot of opposition to that kind of strategy coming out of Germany. You know, we are in a situation where really Germany effectively has a power of veto over the sort of policy response that we're going to see from the Europeans. So there's still a huge number of questions to be answered, but I think one thing is absolutely clear: we do need a much larger bailout plan to act as a fire break going forward. The question is, how can we reach that amount of money? How can we get to that €2 trillion?
Okay, well, China says they're not putting in any cash right now. Looks like Europe doesn't need their help for now, at least. So do you put any credibility into what the central bank governor was saying, the Chinese central bank governor?
I think, as he was suggesting, they've got enough worries domestically rather than riding to the rescue of Europe. I think, you know, Europe's problems will only be solved essentially by Europeans at the end of the day, and the sort of policy response we see within Europe. I think hoping or expecting, so we say, the emerging world to act as a saviour is really wishful thinking at best.
Okay, Russell, I got one more question for you. I think the last time we spoke, earlier on in the summer, you're maybe putting chances of a double dip in the U.S. at 33%. What about now when people are talking about depression, recession?
I think it's probably higher than 33%, probably close to 50% now. You know, it does look like the economy has hit something of a wall recently. It's slowing down into the end of the year. I think the potential for a tip over into negative growth is definitely larger than it was a few months ago.
All right, Russell, thanks for talking to us this morning. Have a good trading week for you. Russell Jones of Westpac joining us from Sydney.